community members from Mexico community with us. And we also have Yiska from our Spain community. She's with us too. Okay, well, I'll hand it straight over to you guys now.
Hey, thank you, Peter. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric, and I'm here with a few friends of mine here at our Mexico community house. I'm here with Susan.
Hi.
And Marina and Linda, and we're here with Yiska from Spain. Hi, Yiska.
Hi. Hi.
And talk about devotion. Yiska is up at 2 a.m. right now in Spain to be with us. So thank you so much for your devotion to being truly helpful, regardless of concerns for the body.
Yeah, that's a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, the five of us have been living in spiritual community here for different amounts of time, and just really using this as a backdrop to practice forgiveness and practice the Course. Not that there's anything special about living in community. In fact, I remember earlier when Frances was talking, something she said just really was profound for me, where she was talking about the realization that she's not really in the community, but the community is in her mind. And that's true for all of us. This community of people, which includes all of you watching, is just a symbol of those who've come together and who are joining. This whole weekend is a collaboration to really face what comes up when we join. The Holy Spirit is guiding us every moment of every day. And there's an intense fear of joining. Anytime that we join with a brother who's also very devoted, it can be like an intense mirror where we are seeing parts of ourselves that we don't really want to look at least the ego doesn't want us to really look at it and be exposed. The ego has taught us that it's much better to hide and avoid people, except for those ones who will support our specialness. And for those of us who've come together, and for all of you who've come to join us this weekend, we're really saying, no, I'm devoted to undoing the ego, not to avoiding it. And so in the Course, Jesus talks so much about relationships, because it's like that's where the rubber hits the road. It's through the mirroring, through the relationships, which come up whether you're on an online retreat, or whether you're living in a spiritual community, or whether you even just think about other people who are also on this path with you. You're forced to look deeper within yourself, and that's what our devotion really is. It's not really a devotion to a community or to a place or to certain people, but it's a devotion to look within. There's a whole chapter in A Course in Miracles called "The Fear to Look Within," and I'm grateful that Jesus is really laying it out very, very clearly how terrified we are of being present, of being in the present moment without any defenses, just being naked and raw and transparent, and being willing to let the Spirit speak through us, to be communication channels for each other. And so, I'm grateful to be here with my friends here in Mexico and with Yiska, because I think that this session can be an opportunity for all of us to just see what the Spirit wants to teach through us. I never know what I'm going to say when I come onto these sessions and panels. I always expect that the Spirit will speak through me what I most need to hear for myself. And so the five of us are just here at your disposal to share with you the miracles that we've experienced, the insights that we've had through this pathway, and specifically through our relationships. And we'd also like to hear from you. We're definitely going to be opening it up for all of you to ask any questions that are on your heart. We really don't have anything to hide. There aren't any questions that we consider taboo. We just want to be an open book for you so that we can all benefit from the transparency. So I think I'll, with that, just open it up to the rest of you. If any of you feel a spark to share any opening words about yourself or about your experience, or you, Yiska, over there in Spain.
Yeah, I think I was just so touched by this opening session with Francis this afternoon, or for us, afternoon, because it was not just a word she said, but it's this theme of devotion. And I could just, as soon as the session started, first with you guys with the singing, and I could feel like Susan who felt this devotion, and then Francis started, and I was just so touched by the prayer that she started with, and this gratitude she felt. And I feel like, yeah, for me, devotion and gratitude are so linked, and I think we could all feel it. And when she started speaking about the first time she met David, and that it is possible in this world to experience this light that is not from this world, and that this consistent happiness is possible. And I don't know, just having that as a shared experience with all of you. I mean, everyone here in the retreat, not just us, but everyone. I think that's what gets us here. And I don't know, I'm just so grateful for that. And that this devotion is, yeah, it's beyond the words, but it's what brings us together. And I just feel so blessed for being here. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite an honor. I loved Francis's opening prayer.
yeah,
The honor of being a student of Jesus. Just follow his example. Be defenseless.
Yeah, I had a very deep experience too this morning for us in Mexico with the opening session, and I feel like I kind of went into this retreat just with a prayer, like just crack my heart open, like I want to feel like an experience, and because I can really be in the intellectual mind thinking and make things very complicated in my mind. And I don't know what it was, but yeah, when Francis shared this morning, I was actually in tech. I'm in the studio helping too, and I was just crying and crying, and afterwards I just sobbing, because I just felt like my heart was just cracking open. And yeah, I actually initially, when I like at the beginning of the week, we there was a question in the community, oh, who feels a spark to be in like a community panel? Like you can just raise your hand and see if you feel a spark. And I was in prayer for like a day or two, and then I just felt like this inspiration, and immediately the intellectual mind came in like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, no, I feel it. I'm just going to put my hand up. And then I think a day later I texted Eric. I said, well, I can just be on tech too if that's more helpful.
I need to slow down a little bit for our translators.
Yeah. And and so and then Francis said so beautifully this afternoon that after I just cracked open, she said, yeah, you never know what's going to happen when you put your hand up. It's like you don't know what Jesus wants to like tell you or what you're going to share. Like you actually have no idea. And I thought, yeah, I really am clueless what I'm going to talk about tonight. I have no idea, but something really stirred my heart this morning. And yeah, I feel like that's like a continual, like a lesson that comes back and back. Like it doesn't matter, like you don't have to be intellectual. I feel like Jesus keeps telling me like it's okay, you can just cry and just sob and let your heart be wide open, and that's enough. That's enough for me. And because I really love that video, probably a lot of you know that video with David. It's called Undoing the Doer, and he talks about Helen Schuckman, and at the end that Jesus told her, well, it wasn't about A Course in Miracles. I love you. And I feel like, yeah, I can listen to that over and over again. Yes, it's just, this is just the backdrop for me actually to sit here on the panel tonight, to get in touch with something like really in my heart, because I feel devotion is something of the heart. It cannot be something intellectual. It's a block, and it's something that, yeah, we look at every day. That's just the practice to see what's actually blocking me from feeling this the whole time, this whoosh of love coming through. Something's blocking it if I'm not feeling it. So yeah, our days are completely devoted to let those blocks to be revealed, really. And I can't do it. I'm not the healer. And yeah, it's humble. I'm not the healer, but to just be in touch with the prayer of my heart every day, and to just dare to go there every single day. And I really feel the back to my initial inspiration of why I wanted to be on this panel was the collaboration that is really, for me, that pulls me in into devotion. I feel a real inspiration with collaboration and all the projects that we have, all the communication backdrops that we have, all the opportunities to pray together every day, which is a huge rinse of the I know mind. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I think I brought it up for the movie poll this week again, like daring to keep opening up. That's just a theme that comes back and back. Dare to be willing to hear the voice for God. Like that's I feel like that's the devotion. Like I really want to hear the Spirit, and I know every one of you wants to. Like we're all being called to follow the Spirit, and yeah, for us it looks like a spiritual community, as you can call it. Yeah, I think I'll leave it with that for now. Yeah.
Yeah, when I hear the words like you're being called by God, like my heart just bursts open, and all I can feel is like, yes, I'm being called by God. And yes, like all I want is a state of mind, like just please take me to that state of mind. That's all I want. And I want to give my whole devotion to that. That is the desire of my heart. And what I've been learning from being here, from being around David, from being around this community, and it's a big lesson for me, is that there is no sacrifice when you go into this path. When I first jumped and said, yes, I'm gonna come, I thought, oh my God, what is God gonna ask me? I was crying. I thought, yeah, I will be left with no means and in the street. Like all I knew was to take care of myself. I didn't know anything else, but being here, like Jesus has been showing me, no, like every time I say yes to whatever is being given to me in the moment, all I'm finding are blessings, and a blessing and another blessing. And I was like, oh, there was no sacrifice. And at the beginning, when I thought maybe I had some reflections of, yeah, you're going to lose something. But the more I'm here, I see that those reflections are even fading away. And the wonderful thing is, like, I don't have to do anything. I just have to have a prayer in my heart. And then the whole thing reconfigures just to meet that prayer of my heart. And I also love that section in the Course where Jesus says, what is sacrifice? And he says, sacrifice is the giving up of something that you want. And then he says, would you sacrifice the call? And I'm like, oh no, I would not sacrifice the call of God, the call for joy, the call for love, constant peace. For what? For like illusions, from trinkets of the world that don't give me anything. Like all the roads of the world lead to death. Like I tried once, and all I found was, like Frances was sharing this morning, is suffering. And I don't want to go there. Like Frances was saying too, like it's a complete turnaround and say, no, I won't go. Like I'm turning away from all of that because it has not brought me happiness, no matter how much I tried. And I can keep going that way. So it's a complete turnaround. And yes, all I find here, like in this path, has been blessings. And so when I hear like the word devotion, my heart swirls up and is yes, because your will is the only thing that would, like meeting your will is the only thing that will make me happy, because it is my will to be one with you. And that remember what I am, and remember I'm one with you. But yeah, this has been such a wonderful experience. And also, like they were sharing, Linda was sharing too, like you never know what the Spirit is gonna have you do. We have many projects, and what I love about joining is the collaboration. I think I never know what the Spirit is gonna bring for me, but I know that when there is collaboration, there is so much joy. And I sometimes do find that there is a bit of resistance going towards all of those relationships. But if I allow myself to open up then the gifts are just wonderful, and they come in cascades. And it's very funny because I did not think I was gonna be here either. But Eric said, anyone wants to be in this panel? And I was like, oh, I don't think it's for me. And then he said, Emily had you in mind. I was like, oh, really? Like I was like, oh, maybe, okay. And then that question just planted a seed in me, and I was like, oh, maybe I do want, like, maybe it'll be fun, because it's about the collaboration. It's about joining in prayer with us, with all of you, with everyone here. And that is how the healing happens. And you don't even realize that, like, you don't have to do anything. In the collaboration, things just simply get done through you, and time just flies. And yeah, I just love how the Spirit is orchestrating absolutely everything to give me that experience of joy and love.
Well, my heart's racing, so it usually tells me something. Yeah, I'm hearing the word dismantling for some reason. I guess what comes to mind for me is, and just my own experience, and when I think of devotion and I think of this course, for me, it's just been about this just really gradual kind of dismantling, this letting go of who I think I am. And like I think of like before the community in my life, I was like, I don't know how to put it, just kind of like this strong, independent woman who had it all together. I thought I was successful. I thought I had it made in many ways. I had a lot of pride in different skills. I had like something like 13 years of education and all this sort of stuff going on in my life that I had such a self-concept built up that when I started to hear the call, you know, where everyone's talking about the call, I knew that there was going to be a lot of work to do with me, because there's just like, you know, there's a lot of work to do. But it's been really actually interesting to watch how the Spirit's been coming in, because when I first started to come in the community, I was given these tasks and these different, you know, relationships and different opportunities that were really like helping me look at my mind in ways that I only ever tried to avoid before. I used to, for example, run away from anything to do with administration, anything to do with money, anything like that. I was into the books, and when I say the books, I mean like textbooks and doing well in school, or you know, just developing a profession and these kinds of things. So when I when I started to see that I needed to put the vehicle in reverse, I needed to start to step back and really look at what was in my mind, that the Spirit needed to show me all these different parts of my mind I only wanted to avoid. And I didn't want to look at. And I think of the movie Revolver, wherever you don't want to go, that's where he is. And that to me means that's wherever I avoid, that's the ego. That's what I have to look at. And that's where my healing is really gonna begin, is anything I've been pushing away in my life. And so, yeah, so in community, I mean, there's just been, just as one example, there's just been a ton of opportunities for me to look at, you know, these different ways that I've not wanted to, you know, using administration as an example, I always thought it wasn't special enough. I wanted to be special. And so, or I wanted, I thought that things with handling money was really, boring and unimportant or something like that. So these were just, those are two examples, but I feel like, it's actually, it's actually been quite a trip to see that when I started to practice the forgiveness work, I was actually being undone. I was seeing that it was time for me to really start to go inward and question so many different beliefs in a really deep way. And that's, I feel like I'm just taking baby steps, like just, like I've heard it called like, that we're devotee, we're turtles, and
Turtles for God.
Turtles for God, and that's exactly, thank you. That's exactly what it feels like every day. There's really, it's like, if anything, it's just it has to be a pathway of feeling humble and, oh my God, I want to go faster. I want to achieve something. I want to, like, these things can still be there, but no, I see the Holy Spirit is always there, saying, wait, we're actually here to learn something much deeper about what is real and what is valuable. And so, so I just feel like dismantling has been really kind of, gone hand in hand with devotion in many ways for me.
Yeah, this is definitely a path of dismantling. Even today, I feel like I've been going, after hearing Francis's talk, I just started to drop into this really deep, felt like going into samadhi, like some deep meditation, and I could barely move. I could just, all day today, I've been, oh my gosh. And I can feel the ego inside of me just going, this is bad. Like, you're losing control. You can't move hardly. You can barely speak. You're supposed to be on a panel tonight. And how are you gonna, are you just gonna sit there and be like a lump on the chair? So it's, and this has come up for me so many times over the years, practicing this course and just trusting that this dismantling of the ego, this dismantling of my personality self and the way that I would prefer to have control over it and over my body, that it's okay. That, thank God we have the course to give us like a really full and thorough context for what's happening to us. It's like Jesus is giving us a heads up. You're gonna feel disoriented. You're gonna feel like you're going through crazy emotions at times. You have to be willing to let it all come up: the rage, the guilt, the shame. You're not going to be able to kind of keep it together as the world would try to advise us. You're going to have to let go of all of those old values of being like a good person or or an adult, a responsible adult, even being a responsible adult, even being responsible for anything. He's saying that the only responsibility that you have is to accept the atonement, that the separation never occurred, that the self you think you are never even existed, and to surrender into the love of God in this moment. So it feels like that's just happening on a regular basis, and we all have the ability, so to speak, to just let go. We we're either like clutching on and trying to hold on to our ego for dear life, which is very, very stressful, or we're just letting go and letting Spirit pull us through all these dark beliefs and emotions that are buried in our mind. And it's worth it, even though it feels very uncomfortable sometimes. It's amazing. I'm just very grateful that Jesus, led the way, and that David has led the way for us here in this modern time to show us that it's possible. We don't have to be afraid. That we're so worthy of God's love.
Another, yeah, I think another idea that comes to mind when I think about devotion and this path, and David was talking about it. We had a conversation with Maria del Mar where David talked about the present moment, and in that talk he said, you cannot know how the spiritual path will look like. If you think you know, then that's the ego going into the spiritual path, and that will lead nowhere. So I have been finding that more and more, then like I'm being surprised. Like I think last week I've been surprised 3 times with the direction of things. It's like, really? What? Me do that? Okay, maybe. But yeah, it's quite interesting how things are evolving, and also like what Susan was saying, is a dismantling, because if you think you know from the past what you're gonna be doing in the future, then that's the self-concept repeating itself. But when these unexpected directions comes, then that is like, oh yeah, well, that is because the Spirit is trying to expand my mind. Like it's not trying to get me locked into the concept of who I am or what I'm good at. And yes, it has been it has been intense sometimes. But yeah, for me, for example, last year, first I didn't know I could translate, for example, and then Spirit was like, boom, translate. And I think that I put my whole heart into it, and I still feel to translate, but then Spirit was like, okay, now let's give you something else. And then he gave me a guitar. A guitar basically materialized in my room. It didn't, but it appeared like that. It was a miracle, I feel. But I was like, that is so far from my self-concept. That's something I can't do. I'm the self-concept of Marina is I'm very good at anything like business, finance, marketing, well, all of that in my self-concept. But when it came to music and creativity, it's like, yeah, that's not for me. The ego told me that was stupid, that was a waste of time, why do it? And now I have that guitar and I'm like, oh, wow. If I'm going to be a turtle for God, I can see that now. I feel like I'm going step by step. I'm a turtle, but I'm like, okay, I'm going. But then there are so many areas, for example, you can do the kitchen. And the other day we're having an SEO call. And I'm like, all of these different hats that are being given me, and it's all just to expand my mind, is to tell me it's not about the form, it's about the content. It's about you could be doing anything, absolutely anything. It doesn't matter. I think Spirit is trying to teach me over and over again. It's about the content, and that's where you will find me. That's where you will find me.